Are you seeing this?
Look at this. Pick and pop from three, Wembanyama. Season ago, that changes with this guy. They're always fun to watch. Wembanyama over Bryant.
No, for real. Are you seeing this?
It's an interception deflection. Sohan. Wembanyama! Power forward to center. Look at this.
I can't emphasize this enough. Are you seeing this?
Got the screen from Osman. Oh, with a nice little dribble right there. Shaking. Bang! Rocketing down the lane. Handing to Wembanyama. Goes on Robinson. Doubled by Kane and spins one up.
This dude's not real. I know it's just preseason, but I've seen all I need to see. This guy's not real. Victor Wembanyama. Basketball's never going to be the same. It's never going to be the same. Let's talk about it. Real quick before I get into this video, if you end up enjoying it, please be sure to subscribe. Also drop a like. It only takes 1 second. It makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the YouTube algorithm. So today, I'm a little bit late on it, but I have to talk about Victor Wembanyama. Now, I normally try not to make videos specifically about the preseason. I obviously acknowledge that criticism at the very start, but I think this is more than valid in this particular case. Because yes, this is preseason and players are not trying as hard, and I'm sure Victor Wembanyama will be far less deadly in a regular season setting. That's all probably true. However, Victor, across his 2 preseason games, has displayed a level of ability that is just, not even just a level of ability, but a type of ability that is just entirely foreign to my conceptions of basketball. Now, the first thing that's really interesting to me about all of this is just how much more effective, how much better Victor has looked in this preseason setting versus how he looked in the summer league. When I went and saw Victor in person in Las Vegas, I made the point that summer league offenses have very little structure to them, and play finishing types of players really do not thrive in them. It's far more like isolation heavy, really ball handling heavy guys. And as a result, Victor didn't necessarily shine all that much. He had a good second game, a very bad first game. Overall though, his performance was, I'd say, mildly underwhelming, and enough reason to maybe be a little bit reserved about how good he was actually going to be in his rookie year. However, in this setting with the Spurs, surrounded by actual NBA players and under a system implemented by Greg Popovich that utilizes him to his fullest strength, I think he's actually going to be even better than I initially thought. First things first, let's talk about the defense. This guy might already be a top 10 defender in the NBA. I believe one of my hot takes in my hot takes for this season video was that Victor would be a top 10 defender in the NBA immediately. It's starting to feel less like a hot take and just a genuine, reserved, fairly lukewarm perspective, because this guy is ridiculous. Defense is all about taking away space from the offense, and in the case of Wemby, he just destroys any semblance of what space even is. Not only does he have the length to cover a lot of area in the area that he's in, but he has the speed to make the area that he is in fucking everywhere, it feels like. The amount of possessions, especially against the Miami Heat, where it felt like he covered the entire ground in just a split second. And then, like, not only does it help that he can just get to the right spot at the right time to bring help defense, but also if he makes a mistake, he has the length and he has the speed to recover from that mistake and still alter the shot of whoever may get by him. Defensively, dude is ridiculous, and he's probably going to go down as, fuck the word probably. Unless injuries are a problem, Victor is going to go down as one of the best defensive players of all time. I'm very, very confident in that, and I'm quite confident that it's going to be obviously excellent defense from the get-go. But let's move to the offense, because that's what's more surprising to me. I realize I just said that a rookie is going to be a top 10 defender in the league, but that's something I felt for a while. The conclusion I've gotten from this preseason has been he's going to be a better offensive player than I thought pretty early on as well. Now, do I necessarily expect him to be putting up 23 points in 23 minutes type of level of production on a regular basis? Definitely not. I don't expect him to shoot 10 for 15 regularly, but I do think that he has showcased actual ability within the flow of the Spurs offense that is just simply going to be available for him all the time. Now, the first thing that stands out to me me from this game against the Miami Heat specifically was his mid-range game. I had understood Wemby to be a very good mid-range shooter and that to be a big part of his game going into the future. However, in those summer league games, as well as their first game against OKC, we really didn't see too much of that. In this game, Wemby was going off from mid-range. I feel like he hit like 5 shots from there at least, 3 of them being off of the dribble, and all of them just super, super impressive. The thing most impressive about them, look at this release point. Look at that line, look at where the basketball is, and look at where the rim is. I don't know if there's another player in NBA history that both has this release point and is good enough to take that shot and make that shot pretty much whenever. Like guys like Kevin Durant or Dirk Nowitzki have a very high release point, but I don't think it's quite at the rim and oftentimes above the rim, especially if Wemby gets a good jump on the shot. So I've said this before, but when you're trying to contest a Victor Wembanyama jump shot, you have to jump high enough to dunk the ball in order to put a hand over the ball itself. That's just absurd. It's going to get to the point where people are just contesting him by doing the like hand in your face thing, because putting your hand over the ball is just not going to cut it. It's very difficult to do that. Even if you are someone that can dunk that's guarding him, and casually so, as a lot of big men obviously will be, you still have to get a decent lead up to get that high into the air. So, you know, even someone like Thomas Bryant contesting him just isn't going to get high enough to interrupt the shot in a significant manner. And he seems to be more than comfortable enough with the shot itself to believe that he is going to be hitting them with or without that damn contest. The three-point shooting is something that's probably going to take a little bit longer to come along, and that's the thing that defenses have conceded to Wemby the most by far. But I would not be surprised if 2-3 years into his career, he's pretty freaking deadly from out there as well. Then we got to talk about the guard skills, because obviously it is those skills that was setting up a lot of these mid-range shots, the off of the dribble ones in particular. It's ridiculous to see someone this tall and this long move like that. Looking at the pull-up that he did, where he like took the ball off of the screen and then got to the free throw line and just faded, that shot is ridiculous. Like, that's some Kevin Durant shit. And, you know, it feels like he's almost going to answer the question, like, what if Kevin Durant was even taller, to like a ridiculous degree. So the mid-range shooting is filthy. The dribbling is filthy. He is so good at dribbling the ball at this height, at this length. Yeah, I'd say he's good at dribbling the ball, period, without that being the case. Normally, when you're that tall, that long, there is a consequence of dribbling the ball, which is there's just a lot more distance between the top of your hand and the ground than it is for like a 6-foot guard, for example. That means when you're defending a taller player that dribbles, you can kind of get under them to try and disrupt them, but his handle is so good and his decision making is so good that it's really not a huge weakness. He's also made great decisions passing the ball. Maybe less just outright creating the play as you would maybe hope, but in terms of just recognizing when someone is open and making the correct decision, he already seems very well versed in that. There were a couple of different plays in this game where he was double teamed and he made the right read. And being able to make the right read out of a double team is something that a lot of very good NBA players struggle with. The most obvious one that stands out to me, though of course he has gotten better with it, is Joel Embiid. I would say Wemby's already further along in this regard, based on the little I've seen from the preseason, than the guy who just won MVP last year. And then the obvious thing is that the dude is a ridiculous finisher. In this screenshot, you see that Wemby has the ball. He has 1 foot barely in the line. He is going to dunk that ball, and he is not going to put the ball on the floor, and it's going to be completely legal. He caught the ball, takes 2 strides, Euro steps into a dunk. And the thing is, he has so much height, so much length, that he is oftentimes, and he does this on the alley-oop as well, he's dunking the ball on the way down. A lot of people oftentimes will get their dunk at the apex of their jump, and you have to be an especially good athlete or especially tall and long to be falling down and still finishing that. But he has that height and length that he can jump, start to go downward, and still have plenty of ability ability to actually dunk the ball. The other dunk that really stands out, probably his most impressive thus far, is his poster dunk on Thomas Bryant. He did a standing poster dunk with his entire body outside of the restricted area. For pretty much any other player, even Giannis, in the position that Wemby was in here, probably doesn't quite dunk that, but he did. You take a look at the face that Thomas Bryant had afterwards as well. He thought he was defending like a hook shot or some type of layup. He wasn't expecting to get dunked on at all. And that's because he's not used to guarding aliens. He's not used to guarding people that just break all conventions of basketball. I said when I watched the Chet versus Wemby game, it felt like I was watching the future of basketball. What Wemby is bringing to the table is something that will forever change the sport and my perspective on the sport. He's done so many things, and so casually as well, that I'm just so perplexed at the fact that they are even possibilities. Being this tall, being this long, that alone is super rare. There are only a couple of players in NBA history that were truly that height, let alone had the mobility that he does. That list is even shorter, maybe literally just a list of one. And the list definitely becomes a list of one when you then factor in the guard skills that he possesses. Victor is a ridiculous basketball player, and I can't even fully grasp what I'm looking at when I watch him. And that's a feeling that I haven't really had in quite a long time. I think literally the last time I can think of where I was like, oh man, this just completely warped my perception of what basketball even is, was when Stephen Curry won MVP the first time and was pulling up the way that he was. And to say that about somebody from a preseason game that is a rookie, to be even in the same breath as that type of thing, shows a lot in terms of what kind of expectations I have, what kind of changes I'm expecting to see. All I can be is dumbfounded. The guy is an alien, and I do think we need to stick with that descriptor in terms of like it being a nickname or whatever. I think LeBron called him an alien. That's just accurate. This is not something that I knew a human was capable of until finally seeing it on an NBA floor. You know, obviously I've looked at a plentiful amount of Wemby footage. Who the hell hasn't, especially if it's your job like it is for me. But to see it actually on an NBA floor surrounded by a bunch of actual NBA players against a team that was just in the NBA Finals, no less, made it very, very real. Things are about to be different. Yeah, that's it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.